It's Annette, and we're here to talk. We're going to be talking about things. Nice to see you. This is my 6th Substack live, if I counted correctly. I think that's accurate. And it is a cold February day, last day of the week, and we have things to talk about. So I'm calling this Substack live Getting a Grip. Hello. We're getting a grip. And we've got some things to talk about that are going on in the news as we see the regime really kind of losing their you-know-what. America has been in an identity crisis for some time now. America has been in an identity crisis since, I would say, at least since a decade ago. When we have a United States Constitution that we don't reinforce and learn, maybe even memorize, that we all don't have as our own common knowledge, when we have a United States Constitution that's not paid attention to, and when we lose our way morally as individuals and as a collective, when that happens in any, in any way, like a small way or big way or somewhere we're in between. When we lose our sense of identity, things fall apart. And as a nation, we lost our sense of identity and things fell apart. After World War II, the United States of America had a strong identity as a defender of democracy. And it was the most perilous time in world history. And I always marvel at how we even made it through that as a human civilization. How on God's earth did we make it through World War II and still be humans on the planet? It's astounding when you think about it. At that time, when World War II ended, the soldiers came back to America, the concentration camps the prisoners were released, and it was such an intense time for the world, an intensely emotional time that unless you lived through it, and very few people are alive that actually went through it, you wouldn't understand the intensity of how it felt then. You just wouldn't, because you weren't alive at that time. So during that time, the United States of America had a strong identity as being proud defenders of democracy, as did Europe. But Europe was much more destroyed by the war. We collectively, as a nation, stood very strong on our democracy. And we were steadfast. We were steely strong in our democracy as a nation. And then things got different. We got further and further away from remembering World War II. Memorials went up, but it wasn't the same as being there, right? So then came the various presidencies, right? The presidencies that came after that, right? I won't go down the list. I might get something out of order. We'll just fast forward up to Jimmy Carter. So I think that our society held on to that sense of a strong pride and identity, with America being proud to be a strong, sustaining democracy where all were welcome. And then came Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, by the way, was really for immigration and really, really, you know, kind of toed the line when it came to standing up for immigration and how immigrants make us a stronger country. However, there were a lot of things that he didn't really do right. And one was that he kind of broke up unions and wasn't a big advocate for the middle class. The whole trickle down theory started then. So with Ronald Reagan, the cracks started to happen in our identity. Money started to play a bigger role in politics. And we got into a place where there was a nuclear arms race. Good things happened, not so good things happened. We started going from the Reagan era to the American greed era, and then just rewinding to the Reagan era. Prior to that, we had Jimmy Carter, who was really, they pulled a fast one on Jimmy Carter with the hostage situation in Iran back then, but we don't have to get into all that. So, yeah, so Hope is saying Reagan was a racist and had no business being president. He did speak for immigration as being a good thing. So, yeah, there was tons of racism. By no stretch here am I promoting anybody who had those kind of defects or their policies. But I'm just sort of illustrating how far we came away from our national identity as being something that we felt great about. So with Reagan, we saw the celebrating corporate, the whole trickle-down economics idea, the nuclear arms race. There were things that were really not good that happened under Reagan. And things started to crack. And then we got into the me generation. And we had Bill Clinton, we had George H.W. Bush, we had George W. Bush, and we could see that we were losing our way. When America was attacked on 9/11, we were already kind of losing our way. We were in many years at that point, many years at that point, where we had stopped focusing on helping one another. We were more going really fast, and we were not going to, say, church, or not really having community things like we did in maybe the 1940s, 50s, around that time. There weren't really as many reasons to really come together as community. And when the tech era came, we started to really lose touch with one another. So George H.W. got us into some wars we had no business being in, as did Reagan. And then we had this time of things just started to kind of like come apart, right? And American greed was a thing. And 9/11 promoted a national fear of the others, yes. And that's always been part of the American psyche. When you feed that, then people start being real divided. The groundwork had already been laid for people to be divisive, with the civil rights movement and blacks having to use different bathrooms and different water fountains and different everything, right? So that there's always been an element of that. But we really we got into a place where we were going in a good direction, and then these other things were going in a very bad direction, and a good direction, and a bad direction. So then we had, after George W., we had 9/11, and then he responded with American greed, we'll say, sending troops into Iraq and Afghanistan when they weren't the ones that attacked us, and bringing all NATO in. And so it's always been a good things about America, bad things about America, right? But, you could say that about a lot of things. Like, you could say that about the Catholic Church. Heinous things about the Vatican, really good things about the Vatican, right? At some point, we have to find like a middle ground almost. At some point, we have to find that we all agree on something. So after George W. came Barack Obama. So then we're like, okay, good. We're all equals here, right? John Lewis fought so hard for civil rights and all the rest, Malcolm X and all the rest. People died. It was rough. But we reached a point where it's like, okay, we're all one. Who cares what color somebody's skin is? We're all one. It's just such a hard thing to wrap my mind around why people are racist, but it's very, very much America's original sin here. So Barack Obama gets in office, and we explode as a nation. We're like, this is it. It's a breakthrough. This is it. We've made some progress here. We had 8 years of Obama. We were pretty happy. And then came the Donald. Then came the infiltration of our identity, our government, of an enemy that knew, just as Hitler knew, that America has an original sin of racism. And fascism is exceedingly racist. Fascism picks on the vulnerable and the disabled and the marginalized communities and anybody in a white supremacist way, anybody who isn't pure, according to their definition of that. Then came Fox. Good point, Jackie. So there we were with a bigoted, run by greed, malignant narcissist, racist to the core, fascist to the core, Donald Trump. And you couple that with the American people in general, not feeling very connected to one another. We hadn't really been going to church. Not that church is the answer. I'm just saying that's a place where community gathered for centuries. So not a lot of community center events. It just wasn't a thing. We got into the me generation. And now that we find ourselves in the midst of massive corruption, the infiltration of the Kremlin into our government, the Citizens United, where politicians were just paid millions, billions, so much money to do corporations' bidding. And then we're being pummeled by advertising and brainwashing and opinions. Cable news starts really just lying all over the place. The idea of alternative facts becomes really prevalent. And then psyops start happening where the American people are literally being mind controlled by the media through very insidious technology, bots, for one thing, that caused people to have dredged up within them the most negative, revolting qualities that they may have been holding within them. And then Donald Trump came along and gave them all permission to blame somebody. So who got blamed? The immigrants. People that don't have white skin got blamed for all of this. True blue fascism, or I should say true red fascism, right? And now we find ourselves today. We find ourselves at today. And today, after all we've been through, and it would take me 5 days to go through the list of assaults on we the people. So we'll just go to today. The horrible, heinous assaults on the American people. Jeffrey Epstein had the most probably successful in the darkest way possible international sex crime ring that we're finding out a lot about right now. And we still have this guy in the White House whose name is in the files thousands and thousands of times. And in the face of this crisis of identity, we are being forced to not look away because Donald Trump's sins get their slimy stink all over all of us. And the only way out is to strengthen who we are, maybe for the first time ever in our lifetimes, to have common ground and to look at what he did today as if what he's posted on AI couldn't get any lower bottom of the barrel. As if it couldn't, we thought it couldn't get any lower to on the bottom of the barrel and any slimier. I'm going to back up and remind you of the AI generated video that he put out, that Trump put out after the No Kings rally at the first one, of him riding being a pilot and a fighter jet and letting the hatch go, and shit like diarrhea came down upon the American people. And did we forget about that? So today, I don't even want to say it, but just in case you didn't see it, last night, this deranged psychopath posted an AI-generated video of the person he most wants to be, of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, heads on ape bodies. And guess what? Now we get to see even more who the MAGA Republicans in our Congress really are. This is a time of the great clarification. This is the time of the great clarification. This is the time. I don't know if you did you not see that today, Michelle? I watch. I'm on the news all day, every day. But this is the time that it is our standing up for who we really are and what we truly hold as our personal constitutions, and then this Constitution, who we are as a nation. These MAGA Republicans that say, I mean, you're excused for not knowing that Trump did that, but you know who doesn't get excused? People like MAGA Mike. People like the representative, I didn't catch his name, but there was a representative that was interviewed on a news show who was asked about what he thought of that. They're not even apologizing, by the way. Asked about what he thought about that, what the White House posted. The Obamas looking like they had their heads on ape bodies. And I think there was music in the background from like The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And apparently this deranged lunatic in the White House depicted himself as a lion, like the Lion King. We know he's still pissed about the so the correspondence dinner when Obama spoke and was roasting Trump a little bit. Yeah. Now, if the MAGAs in Congress pretend that they didn't see it, like this guy did, like, are we done with that? I didn't see it. How many times I hear them say, MAGA Mike especially, he's the worst. I didn't see it. Oh, did he say that? I didn't see it. Well, I don't know anything about that. Well, I didn't. Are you sure he said that? I didn't see it. I didn't see it. And meanwhile, we the people that are just the ones that are paying attention because they're obsessed with what the hell is going on, because we got to keep a handle on things, right? We've all seen it. I could see if they were working at a different job, maybe if they drove, I don't know, an ice cream truck, whatever. I could see if they, I don't know where that came from. I could see maybe if they were really busy doing an unrelated job. But I'm sorry, I didn't see it. What a bunch of bullshit that is. They are not willing. I have not heard it. I have not heard, maybe I heard one or two people. I will continue to look. I have not heard the MAGA Republicans in our Congress stand up and say, that is unacceptable at the very least. We know you're a racist, and now you're plastering it all over Truth Social. We know you're a racist. We know how horrible you are, and you have no business being in the White House. He's what I'd call it is squatting in the White House. No business being in the White House. How many times have we said enough is enough? But I'm going to tell you this. One thing that I know for sure is myself being in the profession for decades of reading energies of people and situations. You might think that they're all tough and dangerous, and they are dangerous. But you might think that they think that they're powerful. There is probably not many shows of how weak somebody is than the displays that we see from the MAGA Republicans and from Donald J. Trump. This identity that we have got to get a grip on has got to be professed to the entire country and the entire world. So by their silence, they're complicit in their silence to something that requires a response. They're in the position of government, illicitly and corruptly, if you ask me. But these MAGA Republicans that are silent about this coming out of the White House are telling you and I and everybody, this is who we are. We are that racist and demonic and horrifying as he is. They're defining themselves. And now what we must do is define who we are. And that is really what's going to save us. That is really what's going to make the difference here. So when we're out there and we're rallying and we're protesting and we're standing up for our rights and we're standing up for our Constitution and we're calling our representatives and we're sending emails and we're signing petitions and we're writing postcards, all of it, talking to our friends, having a YouTube channel, having a Substack channel, whatever. When we're doing that, we're declaring this will not stand. I will not live my life with the president, the person who's in the position of president of the United States, pretending that he's speaking for me, because nothing could be further from the truth of who I am and who you all are and who this country is. People can tell me till they're blue in the face. Oh, that's who America is. And if I'm not that, does that make all of America that? I shudder when I hear people say this. It's such disrespect. That's who America is. I refuse to say nothing while this poor excuse for a human being, this failing, this demented, this really deranged, and really in the advanced stages of dementia, that's my opinion. I will not let this monster who spends every second of every day, even when he should be sleeping, figuring out how to degrade somebody, how to attack them in the most hurtful, malevolent, horrifying way possible. I will not stand here and say nothing. And honestly, I know that you all can't either. He doesn't represent me. He doesn't represent us. And the silence of the MAGA Republicans in Congress has defined who they are throughout, right? Throughout. There are no questions anymore, right? We don't have to question. If they didn't say anything about it, then they're pretty effing racist too. They're telling us who they are. They're showing us who they are. That's their prerogative. That's on them. They have the power, so that's what they've chosen to show us. That even if they don't agree with that, and God, I hope that they don't, who they are is cowardly. They're the cowardly ones. They're the ones that have no spine. They're the ones that are prostituting themselves at this altar of absolute reprehensible slime. Disgust. And now we're in a place where they are brutalizing and traumatizing and terrorizing our brothers and sisters while they call themselves Christians. I think that I heard Caroline Leavitt not reject what the Donald did. I think that I might have heard her supporting it. I have to go back and see what her words were when she was asked about it. So, going back to my profession of reading energy, of people and situations, it's just a skill that I've practiced for many years, and it's my profession. These MAGAs are as weak can be. Yeah, it's not Christian what they're doing. There's been a lot of horrible things done throughout world history in the name of Christianity. I have full support for people that are truly followers of the teachings of Christ. And that's you and I too, no matter what religion you are. Love one another. There's an opportunity here for each and every one of us to stop what we're doing. Jesus would be with us, right? There's an opportunity for every single one of us to put the brakes on, to stop what we're doing, and to understand that we will not make this what the world sees. And just as a side note, I caught a little clip of, I didn't see it yet, but JD apparently is in Italy for the start of the Olympics. And he's so hated. So the rest of the world is showing us what they think of all this. surprised JD even went, but these people are delusional, thinking that everybody loves them. So the world is showing us what they think of Trump. They are weak. The MAGA Republicans are weak. Anyone who follows Trump and thinks that this is okay, and like, hello, Lindsey Graham, and defends him, when I read their energy, they are weak. When I read the energy of these thugs that are terrorizing people, their energy is weak. It's weak, weak, weak. When I think of people from the World War II, like, I know that a lot of us have parents or grandparents that were alive during World War II. That generation, what do they call it? The greatest generation? There was a level of class and of dignity that is really hasn't been matched since then. I think it's time for us to go back to that. And we can all think, I think about my dad, I think about how, he was really a stand-up guy. And I know that a lot of you can relate to that too. Hopefully you can. People from that generation, they'd been through hardships and they knew what it was to really stand on principle, to stand on who you wanted to be in the world, and to make that really damn important. Not in a forced way, in a this is who we are way. And there are many of those that we've lost, many great Americans that we've lost, it would be rolling over in their graves to see that we have put up with this. We lost our way. And I really do believe in a higher intelligence that's guiding us through and that's giving us opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to define who we are. We are not hateful people. We are not hateful people. So why would we let somebody as hateful as this orange monster represent us? How can we let that happen? And if we are, holding on to our anger and our rage, maybe that's learned behavior. I just want to tell you that's the most unhealthy thing we can do for our systems. If you're angry, do something with that anger. We are furious. This is a nation that's getting more and more enraged and furious at this regime by the minute. And this has been going on for a very long time. We are reaching a breaking point. It's hard for us to think of anything more heinous than what we already know about the mind and the deeds of Donald Trump. It seems that he never fails to give us a new reason to rise up against him, to rise up against fascism. Because he just keeps giving it to us. And we're not going to take it anymore. America has had an identity crisis, but we're being forced now to not let one day go by without declaring fully with your words and your actions and your deeds who you are and who we are. It's an opportunity to refine our sense of who we are as individuals and as Americans. So I know that you're all with me on the journey, and I thank you for that. Before I leave this little talk, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're setting ourselves up for cortisol poisoning. Yes, Jackie, if we just hold in our anger, yeah, we're mad as hell. We're not going to be taking it anymore. And we are at a serious apex. We're at a serious tipping point. Pass it on. It's up to each and every one of us to make a difference. That includes each and every one of you here, all those times you thought that you weren't important, that's a lie. You're very important. You're critically important to saving this country. So before I go, I did post a Substack earlier about defending our Constitution. Hopefully you got it. If you're here, then you're on my list. Please share that if you can share it. And hopefully these lives will grow. These live streams will grow. It's been pretty good for the first week. And I will come back daily, and hopefully you'll get a notification in your email. If no one has any questions, I'll leave it here. All right, let's do this. I'd like to say namaste. We'll see you on YouTube. Bye.